Hi everyone, my name is Shauna in case you don't know, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be doing my February reading wrap up for 2026. My Serena wig freaking died in the case I put it in for some reason when I was taking it home from a con earlier this month. So I don't really know what happened earlier this month, meaning I'm filming this February 27th on Pokemon Day, hence the fit. Anyways, today I'm going to be talking about all the books that I read in February. I read 8 books. I feel like I should clarify the number that were like novels and mangas versus graphic novels not. I was thinking about that recently. I read 2 novels, 1 graphic novel, and 5 manga. So there we go. My average star rating for this month was 3.125 stars, and I view anything over 3 stars as a good reading month, so this was a fairly good reading month for me, and I found my first 5-star read of the year, which I'm super happy about. So without further ado, let's get into this. The first book that I read this month is The Blood of Hercules by Jasmine Mass. I started this one in January, finished it in February. It took me a while to finish it because it was so hard to find the motivation to pick up this book and read it, for reasons that you will find on one sec. But essentially it's about this girl, and this girl is homeless and has this really rough living situation. She is like having the worst luck in life. She is being abused by her foster family. She's homeless. She's trying to take care of her adoptive brother. Like, she's in this really bad situation, but she's trying to succeed in school. Well, she does this test that everyone has to go through, and part of the test is that you have your finger pricked for blood. And in this world, by the way, there are the Greek gods, but the Greek gods aren't really the Greek gods. They're more just heroes that are stronger than normal humans. And there's also titans, and titans are a huge thing that the Greek heroes have to fight, like Achilles, for example. And so she gets her blood pricked for this test, this important test that everyone has to take. Well, they find out that she has Spartan blood, meaning that she is descended from one of the gods. So she gets taken and has to enter this tournament to see who will live, and after the tournament she has to go through intense schooling and go through basically the intense regiment that all Spartan people must go through once they reach a certain age. So this one was something. I bought it because it sounded really interesting. I love Greek mythology. I love Greek mythology books. Was this one good? No. And it was for my book club too, which is part of what killed me, because like normally the book club books that we've read I really enjoy. I think this is only the second book that we've read for the book club, and I think I've done like 11 books for this book club. Actually, I technically have read 12, but one of them I read before the discussion, like I read years before. So 12 books, and I haven't liked 2 of them. I feel like that's a pretty good streak. But this one was just like rotting away my brain cells. Like, it was so bad. The writing is horrendous. It is the worst writing I have ever read. It is god awful. Like, it reads as if it's someone who is chronically online on TikTok all the time and doesn't know how to talk and interact with people outside of TikTok. And there was just so many cringe things. And the thing too is this is pitched as a dark romance. The romance is dark. So to have all these cringy things in here just doesn't work. The author needed to decide if she wanted this to be a funny book or if she wanted it to be a dark romance. You can't do both. I'm gonna read off some quotes really quickly. There are a couple that will have more adult content in it, but I'm not gonna go into explicit detail. I think there's just one comment that deals with an inappropriate body part, but I'm gonna read off a few quotes just so that people can see what I mean by this writing. So this is a situation where like she's being abused, and like police officers and emergency people are coming to check on her and they're not treating her well. What would Emmy Noether and Carl Goss do in this situation? Sadly, I was not sure how my heroes, brilliant historical mathematicians, would act. And this is like a reoccurring thing. Any time that anything hard goes on, she starts thinking about these mathematicians, and like she starts fantasizing about them. Like, it's non-stop, and it's in the most random spots, and it pulls me out of the story every time. There's this quote that was included 4 freaking times in this book, and one of those times was from Nyx, a goddess. And here's the quote: "Free the nipple and free the lips vaginal." Like, it literally clarifies vaginal. Why are we saying this over and over again in this book? Please. This next one will have cussing in it. Nostrils flaring, Petro cracked his knuckles, genuine question, what in the fuckity fucker is wrong with you? That's a Greek hero. Why is he talking like that? Oh, and here's another one that has an inappropriate little body part mention. I knew you had it in you, bestie. Pussy power, crush the patriarchy. Again, Nyx, who is the goddess of night, is saying this. What in the world? Also, Helen of Troy is in here, and they butcher a lot of Greek mythology in here. I mean, the gods themselves aren't even gods. They're just stronger humans. But Helen of Troy is the worst butchering that I've seen. Like, for an example, a line that Helen said was, "I know you're training right now and doing the crucible," which is literally insane. You probably have to meditate and study. You must be so mentally strong. Why are we making Helen of Troy a girly girl? Why are we making her a girly girl? And also, one more thing, the main character in here is so ridiculously stupid. Like, all of the things that are plot twists, you already know because she just doesn't use her brain. So she already knows everything because everyone has told her all the plot twists, but she doesn't use her brain. And so when the plot twist happens, she's like, "Oh my gosh, shocking." I'm like, girl, they told you this plot twist like 5 times in explicit detail. It wasn't like hinting at it. No, they explicitly told her things. And then she finds it out later at the end of the book and is like, "Oh my gosh, I never would have believed this." They told you 5 times, girl. They've told you explicitly 5 times. Anyways, I could rant about this book longer. So this one was a 1-star read for me. I really don't think it deserves the hype that it gets. I think if you like Greek mythology, skip this one too because of the way that it butchers Greek mythology so horribly. Like, it's the worst butchering of Greek mythology I've ever read. And then I read Jujutsu Kaisen Volume 3. I read a lot of Jujutsu Kaisen this month. So in case you don't know about my thoughts on Jujutsu Kaisen, I think that it is very overhyped, but there are some characters and plot lines that I do enjoy in the series. I've watched the first 2 seasons of the anime and I've started season 3. I'm not caught up on season 3 though. Volume 3 has a lot of Nanami, and I'm not the biggest fan of the Nanami parts. I've never been as big of a Nanami fan as other people are. I think there's some really, really good cosplays of Nanami out there that are amazing. I don't find Nanami as interesting as other people. And also, I was talking about this with a friend the other day. Do we think JJK would be as popular as it is if it didn't have Gojo and Nanami in it? Because a lot of the fan base doesn't understand the world building or how anything in this series works. They just think Gojo and Nanami are hot. Yeah. I like it. I like a lot of the fans. I'm just saying, like, I think the reason it was boosted into popularity is definitely because those 2 characters. Anyways, so I'm not the biggest fan of the Nanami parts, but there was Junpei parts in here, and his part in his arc is one of my favorite parts of the series. It is so heartbreaking. There's a lot of what ifs, like what would this world and these characters be like if things didn't go the way that they went down. So I did like that part, so I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. And then I read This Was Our Pact by Ryan Andrews. So my friend got this for me for Christmas and their mom picked it out for me, and I just read it when I was on the train up to Seattle in February. And this is a graphic novel. I would say it's like middle grade, I'd say. Might border on children's. So This Was Our Pact is a book about these boys, and these boys want to follow the lanterns, the paper lanterns that are put out into the sky. They want to follow them and see where they lead. And so they make a pact that they're not going to turn around, they're going to follow through. Now some of the boys are not so sure about this journey, and we end up with 2 boys left who are going on this adventure, but the adventure turns magical. And I don't want to spoil too much more from there because I went into this not knowing very much about it, and I really, really enjoyed this one. It worked really well for me. It really reminds me of like Studio Ghibli vibes of stuff. Like if you think of like Boy and the Heron, I feel like that would be one that I can compare it to. It's sort of just like this adventure where there's sort of just like so many like cute magical things and you never know where it's going to turn next. And there is deeper themes in here. I mean, there's strong things about friendship and stuff in here that I think are really good. And I don't know, I just really enjoyed it. I think that it's a really great graphic novel. I think if you're into Studio Ghibli, you'll really like it. I think if you're into cozy fantasy, you really like it. I ended up giving it 5 out of 5 stars. So it's literally my first 5-star read of the year, which isn't what I was expecting. However, I'm not mad about it. Definitely want to check out more by this author because this was a really good graphic novel. And then I read Winter's Moons, which is the 3rd book in the 5 Moons Rising series. I'm not 100% sure how to say the author's name. I would say it as Lise Mactag? I'm not 100% sure, but this is one that I got off of NetGalley a while ago, and I'm very behind on my NetGalley reads. I don't think I'm going to request any more NetGalley books for a while, just because I'm very behind, and I feel like I haven't been enjoying the ones that I've been getting recently, which is partly my fault, partly me just choosing ones apparently that aren't great, because I've had so many good 5-star reads from NetGalley, but I've also just not had any 5-star reads from NetGalley in like years, I feel like, at this point. Anyways, that's not NetGalley's fault at all. It's just the luck of the draw with the books that I've been selected for. So Winter's Moons is the 3rd book in a series, and it technically can be read on its own. I think you would get more out of the book if you read the first 2 books. I didn't read the first 2 books, but you can read it as a standalone. Basically, some wolves are going missing from some wolf packs in the Chicago area, and there's a lone wolf, and her brother used to head one of the packs, but her brother unfortunately died, and so she wanted to go and check in on her brother's old pack, and she runs into the young alpha who is currently leading the pack, and they start investigating the disappearances. I think Winter's Moons had a good premise. I just think that a lot of it felt very lackluster. It very much feels like a filler book to me. Like, it seemed like the point of the book was just to set up the fourth book in the series, which is unfortunate. I think filler books are like really common for sequels. I think sometimes it's hard to figure out like, do I do this section to set up the final plot in like one book, or do I like combine it and do a longer book? Do I rush through things? Like, I think there's a lot of consideration that goes into books and how to split up books for a series, and I think unfortunately sometimes they're just split up poorly and one ends up feeling like filler, and this one was definitely a filler one. It was also filler in terms of the romance because this is a sapphic romance, and the romance was very much just like very underdeveloped in this one. Since it was filler, it was just so boring. Like, it was one where, similar to Blood of Hercules, I was struggling to find the motivation to pick it up, which was really unfortunate. The only good thing about this book was the asexual representation. I think the discussions and boundary talks that were had in this book were done really well. The only downside to that though is when you're having boundary talks but you haven't developed the romance, they sort of feel like forced and unrealistic a little bit, but the type of boundary talks that were had in this book were similar things to what I've had with people, so like I very much related to them and felt that it was at least good representation, but it could have been better if the romance had been developed so that it felt more natural and instead of just like shoved into the book, if you know what I mean. So I ended up giving this one 2 out of 5 stars. It would have been a 1 star, but I upped it to 2 stars because of the asexual representation. I think there is a lot of potential to delve into like werewolves and asexuality within werewolves because of things like heat and mating and stuff that are a huge trope in werewolf genres. I just don't think that this book was the greatest book because it was just very lackluster with everything else because it was just filler. But I do really want to find more werewolf books that tackle asexuality and how that influences things. I think that'd be really interesting. And then I read Jujutsu Kaisen Volume 4, and this is one of the better volumes in my opinion. I finished up the Junpei stuff and I really like him and his story, as I've already said. It also starts the Kyoto Goodwill event arc, and the Kyoto Goodwill event arc is my favorite. I love any sort of like school festivals and stuff. Like, my favorite arcs from the My Hero series were the school festivals, especially the first sports festival. That was amazing. So I just love this arc, and I love all the different characters that you get to see in the Kyoto Goodwill event and all the interactions that you have between the characters. This was a 4 out of 5 star read for me. And then continuing the Kyoto Goodwill event arc in Jujutsu Kaisen Volume 5, this was another great one that I ended up giving 4 out of 5 stars. This one is fun as well. It's continuing the rivalry between the schools. I also think it does a great job of like introducing other curse techniques, especially from students from the other school, that you need to know about for later in the series. So it is very much setting up stuff, I feel like, for later in the series, but I like the setup and the way that they go about doing this setup. And then Jujutsu Kaisen Volume 6 sort of goes back to the traditional fighting that you've seen a lot in this series. A lot of the series is just fighting, and it sort of goes back to that in this one. And so because of that, I didn't enjoy it as much as the other volumes in the Kyoto Goodwill event arc. However, this one still is a pretty decent one. I really like Hanami. I think that Hanami just has a really kind heart and soul, and I love how that comes out in their actions and their words, and so I really like Hanami. I think Hanami is one of my favorite curses, if I'm being honest. So I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. And then I have a lot of mixed feelings on Volume 7. Jujutsu Kaisen Volume 7 is basically the baseball scenes, which I love. I actually somehow posted about wanting to do a JJK baseball group on my stories, and I'm somehow getting a whole group together, which I think is really fun. We're up to 6 people. I want to get more male characters. If anybody in the like Oregon, Washington area wants to join, you should send me a DM. I would love to have more people. We have 5 female characters right now and 1 male character, so I'd love to get more male characters. But I'm happy that we have like 3 from Tokyo Jujutsu High and 3 from the Kyoto school. So I like that we have like an even number of each and not just like an overwhelming of one school or the other. That way we can set up some scenes pretty easily when we go and do the photo shoot. But yeah, I love the baseball scene. I love random baseball scenes in animes. Like My Hero as well has that baseball episode that's an OVA that I just like love. Like, it's just silly, it's goofy, it's a break from the fighting. I love it. The other part of this volume is the cursed womb stuff, which is extremely important for setup for later volumes, but the cursed womb stuff like isn't my favorite. I do like Nabara and sort of how she deals with it in the fight, but like cursed wombs themselves and everything are not the most interesting to me. So I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. And those were all the books that I read in the month of February. I hope all of you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to me if you haven't already. I upload 1 longer video on my channel every week, so stick around for more videos like this one in the future. And on the days when I'm not uploading longer videos, I upload my cosplays on my YouTube shorts. So if you want to see cosplays like my Serena cosplay, then head on over to my YouTube shorts. I have tons and tons of my cosplay videos uploaded over there. I hope all of you have a great March, and I'll see all of you in my next video. Until next time, everyone, goodbye.